Hey pilots, this is Pete with BananaHobby.com. Welcome to your hands-on build review of the 1400mm FMS Blitz P-47 Thunderbolt, otherwise known as the Jug. I'm sure y'all have checked out the What's in the Box review, and this is your second portion, which is your on-hand build review. So in the next few minutes here, maybe about an hour, maybe less, not really sure, we are going to go very, very detailed into a hands-on build review with me, and we will go through every parameter up to setting up your own radio with this beautiful P-47 and some setup parameters and everything. Before we get started, just a couple of things just to have on hand for your build here. As I mentioned in the What's in the Box review, this airplane FMS does include a Phillips head screwdriver and a 1.5mm Allen wrench key. That's already pre-included and in this bag already. So that's something that you can keep handy and use throughout this build review. Alongside of that, a couple of useful tools that I found very, very useful during these builds. I will show you. You always want to have a pair of scissors. And I forgot to get something out of here, so I'm going to reach over real quick here and grab it. There it is. Okay. And I always have a hobby knife. Okay, be very, very careful. These hobby knives are extremely, extremely sharp. I've had some really bad incidents with hobby knives. And one of them I'm going to share with you that my dad taught me when I was younger, when I was building model airplanes, is that, I got to just tell you this so you guys and gals out there will never make my mistake. Here's a knife, okay, and it's extremely sharp. It goes along with every knife that you see. I know this is off the subject here, but I just have to share with you. When you cut something with this knife, let's grab something here. And you're cutting a piece of foam or you're cutting something. Make sure you cut straight down or away from you. Okay, so you're going to always cut away from you, away from your fingers, away from any of your body parts over here, and cut away from you. Never, ever cut down and then pull this knife towards you, because this knife will eventually end up with resistance, and you're going to sit there and really heave on it, and if it pops loose, it's going to be a very, very bad situation. And that is something exactly that I've done. I've gone to ER before, and I've bled all over my grandma's carpet and everything, so you don't want that. So you want to always cut down and away from you. Anytime you cut with this hobby knife, cut down and away. That's just a little bit of a tidbit, because I worry about a lot of people working on these hobbies out there. And I've done this for so long now that I've had helicopter blades, big carbon helicopter blades, hit me in the face, hit me in the arm, hit me in the chest, and I've cut myself with, everything that you could possibly think of. So just be careful with these hobby knives. Along with that, I always like to have an open-ended crescent wrench and a couple of sizes in needle nose pliers. You never know which ones you may need, but at least one size of a pair of needle nose pliers are always good. A pair of wire cutters or some snips there. And I have about 3 sizes of small Phillips head screwdrivers. You never know which ones you're going to use, so I always have a generic selection of little small Phillips heads. And it includes one already, so that's a good thing. And then a flathead screwdriver, that's always good, and which is already included in there if you don't choose to use that. A lot of guys and gals out there have your hex wrench set. So basically it's a hex driver set. And this is a 1.5mm. And sometimes you can utilize 1.5 and 2.0mm as well. And with that, I always have a bottle of super glue. Since we're talking about EPO foam now, EPO foam is safe to super glue. However, I would still pick an inconspicuous portion of the foam here where you can actually check to make sure that it actually is safe on your foam. But so far, all the super glues that I've used pretty much have been safe here. For today's build, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, you will want to have some Loctite handy. If you have any, if you don't have any, no worries. You don't really have to have it. I'm a perfectionist, so I'm always trying to keep everything done right up to T, because, like I said, these things are flying in the air. So sometimes a little bit of blue Loctite handy is always a good thing. Other than that, have some denatured alcohol, acetone, or some rubbing alcohol ready, and a rag there, so when you get glue on your hands, you can go ahead and wipe it off. And for today's build here, you can choose to get this as your ready-to-fly format, which we will include a 2.4 gigahertz transmitter receiver on 6-channel, and or you could use your own radio system. And I've been using a lot of my own radio system on the FMS Blitz builds here, just because I get a lot of feedback from my colleagues inside there that are customer support, and they ask me questions about your radio setups. And the majority of you out there seem to be using DX8s, DX7s, Spectrum DX7s, DX8s, DX6Is, and then into your JR 9303, the 9503, the 11X, and the 12X. So we're going to go ahead and for this build and this setup review here, we are going to go ahead and use my own transmitter, which is the JR 9503 2.4 DSM-X. And for my receiver choice, we are going to use the AR, the 6210 DSM-X. So this is going to be our setup when we go to set it up. This airplane does fly on your 4-cell 4S format, 2500, 2650 to about 3000, which is going to fit in there. I haven't really checked the sizes there, and for today's build, we are going to use the 2500 4S 65C Pete Signature Series Genesis Power Packs. I've been flying these in just about everything that I own, to my big helicopters and my EDF jets. These batteries are just amazing. I just like looking at them. They're beautiful. They're beautifully made. They're gorgeous with the wrapping and everything, and the power is amazing. Comes pre-soldered already with your T-style plug, and it's pretty much plug and play ready to go here. So we're going to put that battery aside. And I think I'm pretty winded here, and we are going to go straight into the build here and bring the camera in, and we're going to go hands-on with this build. I hope y'all are with me out there. We have the camera in for a little bit different angle today, and we are going to go ahead and go hands-on in this P-47 build. I can't wait to get this P-47 to the field here. Just a beautiful plane. And we're going to go ahead and get the fuselage aside here, get a couple of things aside, and we are going to start our build here. Let's see which way I can do this. Let's go ahead and put this over here for now. The fuselage out of the way. All right. Bear with me here, as builds are just like this. They are very unorthodox, and sometimes you are all over the place. And that is part of the fun. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we are going to open the instruction manual. And let's go ahead and see what FMS has to tell us as far as this build here. This right here is the ESC programming manual. This will be utilized later on, and with most of the 1400 millimeter FMS Blitz RC Works warbirds, we will have to set the throttle calibration when you first go plug it into your own radio system. If you're using the stock 2.4 system that you order from us, then it is most likely not needed, but sometimes it is. So do pay attention to this portion here, and we will go there. But we're not doing that until later on when we're actually going to go ahead and arm the airplane here and set it up. Okay, so let's go ahead and go right into this here and see what the manual actually says. Okay, the first step in the manual actually tells us to glue the main wing area and install the tail wheel and the bombs and the antenna and stuff like that. So basically, the reason why we do these, the manual is not that bad. It actually is pretty clear. However, I do not like the steps that they are going and taking. So we are going to actually go ahead and do our own thing and follow the manual from time to time here. So you guys can actually see how I go ahead and approach building an airplane here. And the way it looks on this airplane, nothing's going to be in the way as far as control surfaces or obstructions. So what I always do, like the other build reviews that I've seen, unless I tell you otherwise during a build that we're doing something, we're following it a little bit differently or we're taking a different approach, I usually install all of the control clevises first. And the bag that your horizontal stabilizer came out of has a little Ziploc bag here that's stapled to it, and that is your hardware bag for the horizontal stabilizer. And this is what we call the control surface horns. We're going to go ahead and get everything out of the bag here. So we have 2 horns and then 2 surface backings, and there are 5 screws. So they give you a couple of extra screws here, and I will go into telling you why there are 4 holes here. So we're going to go ahead and grab a small driver here, and we're going to go ahead and get the camera. That was me pushing the wrong button. We're going to go ahead and get the camera zoomed in just a tad so I can see, so I can show you. There we go. That's pretty good right about there. I'm going to back it off just a tad. There we go. Okay, so here we have the control surface horns, and they look just like that. And remember, this side here with the holes here, there's 3 holes. There are 3 holes. That is going to be going towards your push rods. And if you take a look at the fuselage real quick here. Let's go ahead and get the fuselage in. I'm going to go ahead and show you. This is the back side of the fuselage, and you can see that your 2 top, there are 3 push rods back here. The 2 top ones here are going to be for your elevator, and the one that's on one side a little bit lower, that's going to be for your rudder. So you know that the elevators actually have 2 control surface horns, one on each side, and we're going to go ahead and jump into installing those here. Okay, if you built a lot of these airplanes, you probably will be confused like I was when I first built one of the first FMS planes, and the reason why is right here. These control clevises, the control horns here, goes onto the bottom side. You got to identify the top. The top will be this green color, the olive color, and the bottom will be the silver color. So these go in here just like that. Okay, and you can take note that on this piece here, there's actually 2 guide posts and then 2 screw holes. Okay, so there's 2 guide posts and 2 screw holes there. So we're going to put that aside there. When I built my first couple of FMS planes, or actually the first one, you're normally, when you put the control surface backing on one side here, like that, and then you have your control clevis on the other side, normally with most builds, the actual screw goes through the control clevis side into the backing. And with this plane, is actually backwards. It's actually the different way. It's pretty good this way too, because you're only utilizing 2 holes here. So this actually goes through this way. And let me see here. There are no screw variation in sizes here. They're all the same size. So we're going to go ahead and identify the 2 diagonal ones. So this one's on the lower left. So we're going to go ahead and go through the top backing side, have one in there, and then this one will go diagonally into that hole right there. Okay. Okay, and we are going to go ahead and grab our little driver here and go ahead and just screw this down. Okay, there we go. That one's biting, and that one is biting as well. Okay, that is it. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten this one down. Okay, and remember, this is screwed into foam, EPO foam. So you don't really need to really tighten it down super much. You can just tighten it down to where it actually is. I'm going to back this one off a little bit, line it up one more time. It feels like it's out of place there. There we go. Now we are in. And you just want to cinch it down to where it actually, you feel that it's a good tension. That's good. And it's pretty much ready to go. That's one of the reasons why, I use a smaller screwdriver, because it doesn't allow you to over torque that thing down and give it way too much pressure where it's going to strip the screws or anything like that. Okay, we'll do that with the same thing on the other side here. Let me go ahead and put this backing right down into here. And this is on top side and the bottom side. So we're going to go ahead and put 1 screw there, and then 1 screw diagonally, and that's pretty much it. Okay, let's go ahead and get that one. Okay, that one's pretty much biting already. We're going to go ahead and get this one here, and this one is in too as well. Okay, that's pretty good there. And that is pretty good. And that's how quickly the tail section control horns here, control surface horns, are installed. And that is your flying tail horizontal stabilizer ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside. The reason why I do this first and I alter from the manual is because it is very difficult to build one of these things being the size, and then, most of us some of us have the luxury, some of you actually have the luxury of a workspace where you have a big table and you can build it in your workbench and things like that, where a lot of us build it in a very small confined space. So it's really hard to actually be able to move this airplane around once you have all the big wings and everything bolted on there, and then you're installing these things. So it takes a little bit of a moving around. So I don't like that. So I always go ahead and put this on first whenever I feel that it is actually pliable, so we can do it. So we're at the vertical stabilizer, and you're going to pull the hardware bag once again right off of the vertical stabilizer. Okay, we're going to get rid of this bag. And I often just cut the top off. It just makes it a little bit easier until later on here. Remember, they give you a couple of extra screws, so you want to keep that aside. And you can actually mark the bags if you wanted to and say that's for the elevator and this is for the rudder. And the rudder here, they give you some extra screws once again. Okay, and we are going to look at the rudder, and when you had the fuselage over here, you need to identify which side the push rod is on. For the rudder, push rod. Okay, so this is actually on the left side of the plane, and when we judge by this is you're looking down the plane and you're in the passenger seat position. I'm sorry, you're in the driver's position here, or the pilot's position, pilot's view. And this is on the left-hand side or the left surface of the airplane, looking from tail to nose. Okay, so let's go ahead and set that aside. Okay, so this right here is the left side of the rudder. So we are going to put the control surface here into the left side of the rudder. And you know, a good, easy way to tell is the side that the control surface horn goes into is actually pretty flush, and the sides that the backing is actually countersunk. So you can see right there, that side is extremely countersunk. So that's the side the backing goes into. So let's go ahead and put the backing in there. Okay, that's good. And it goes on the top right and lower left. Okay. Here you're going to identify there are two screw sizes here. One of them is longer and one of them is a little bit shorter. And they give you two more screws for backup, for spares. So we're going to put that aside. The longer one will, if you look at the profile of the rudder here, you will be able to see that the lower side, the root side of the rudder here is actually thicker than this side here. So the longer screw will go towards the root side here. Let's go ahead and get that one in there. And then the shorter one goes right there. Okay, so that's where it goes. Let's go ahead and get that a bite there. Okay, that's already biting. And that one is there too. So now we're just going to go ahead and cinch it down. And I like having my hand on the opposite side because I can actually feel the control horn, the surface control horn there, start pulling into the foam, and it starts to get really level and flush with the foam, and that's when I know it's right about there as far as tightening them down. Okay, that is it. And remember, the whole side here is facing the push rod once again. And that is your flying tail. This is your vertical stabilizer block and the rudder pretty much set and ready to go here. So that is good. We're going to go ahead and set that aside. And now brings us to the main wings. So let's go ahead and grab the right wing. This is the right wing. And we are going to install the control surface horns once again to the main wings. And in this portion here, it is not stapled to the main wings because there's only two pieces, so they are actually in this parts bag right here. They're in there. Okay, get that a little bit wider. There we go. Okay, so now we are going to dump out our bag of goodies here. Remember, these screws here are for spares. Push those aside. There's our bag of goodies. A lot of these screws we are going to set aside for now because we are not needing them. We have the antenna there. I think there's another bag of spare screws. Oh no, actually that goes with these, I think. They do. Okay. All right, so here we go. We have here they're about the same. So these two bags here are actually, one is your aileron and one is your flap. And it looks like the longer push rods will be for your flaps, which is this bag. And then the shorter push rods will be for your ailerons, which is this bag here. Okay, so let's get those out of there. And we're going to put the push rods aside for now. And they give you one, or actually a couple of extra control clevises. And we're going to take that out there. The horns actually are all the same right here. So you can actually use either or for the flap or for the aileron there. Or all the surfaces are the same. The screws, however, are not. So this bag, that goes for the flaps there. So we're going to put the push rods back into this bag or on top of it, so you know those are for the flaps here. Okay, and this bag here with the little Allen wrench right here, this bag of screws will be for your ailerons. And I'm pretty sure the manual actually tells you in there what size screw. Yeah, it does. It tells you what size screw goes where, but they're all in millimeters. So kind of hard to tell if you actually get a measuring tool out and actually measure it. That's one way to do it, but the other way is you just test fit. That's what I always do, and it always works out pretty good. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the aileron here. Okay, control surface horn pressed into place. We're going to flip her, put the backing down right there. Okay, so the backing is down. Look at that. It's going to be on that side. Okay. For the ailerons, once again, there are two different lanes. There's a longer and there's a shorter self-tapping screw. So once again, the longer screw will go into the hole that is closest to the root of the aileron because it's the thickest part, which is right there. And then the shorter one will go diagonally right into there. We're going to grab our small little driver there, and we are going to just tighten that down. Okay, that's grabbing, and then we're going to go there and tighten this one down. Okay, so now that is there, and you kind of square it off a little bit before you tighten it down all the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and tighten it down. Okay, I feel it with some tension, and it's starting to pull the foam up a little bit from the bottom side, and you can see a little bit of a pressure indentation from the top, and that is plenty of power there. Okay, let's go ahead and do the flaps here. So these are for your flaps. The one-piece EPO hinged once again. So on the flap one, you can actually pull it down position a couple of times, just breaking it a little bit. It's not really needed. These servos are plenty powerful to bring the flaps down here. Okay, we have the backing is on. And the flap screws here, I believe, are in a different bag here. Let's see here. And they all look like they're about all the same lengths here, so let's go ahead and test fit the flap screws. We are on the top right, so this goes into here. Yeah, it looks like it reaches, and that reaches as well. So the flap screws are in a separate bag. They're in the bag where the longer push rods are at, because we'd identified that as being the push rods for the flaps. So we're going to go ahead and tighten down these screws here. Okay, that one is in, and that is in, and we call that about good. Be really careful when you're tightening these screws because the drivers will strip these screw heads, and that's why they give you some extra screws in there so you can keep it as spares. So right now we have this main wing pretty much, the right wing pretty much dialed in and ready to go, ready for the next area of installation, and we will install the control horns on the next wing and meet you back here. Welcome back. At this time, you should have your control surface horns pretty much pre-installed onto all your main control surfaces here. Something that was brought to my attention just now when I was looking at this airplane, I wanted to bring to yours, is that these airplanes are made out of EPO foam, and they do travel quite a distance to get here to the U.S., where we are able to sell it to you all fans out there and pilots out there. And sometimes throughout this travel, what happens with EPO foam is the climate changes, and sometimes on the skinnier the trailing edge portions of the control surfaces, you might have a little bit of warping. And I don't see it very often, but with this P-47, I see it on the trailing edges just a little bit. I don't know if you can tell from there. And that is not a problem at all. If you get it like this, there's no sense on replacing the main wing at all. If you fly it like this, you're probably going to trim it just a little bit with opposite trim on this aileron, and it'll fly the same. That's not going to affect it at all. If this bothers you, like you don't like this, just a little bit of an angle here, what I do is I hit it with a blow dryer. I'm not talking about hit it with a blow dryer like this close to it. Just hit it with a blow dryer here. Just warm the foam up a little bit, and then you can actually just use your hand and then bend the surface down a little bit. And I won't even use it because EPO foam actually holds its shape very, very well. And I would leave it in the sun, or just I would just sit here and do this a little bit here with the trailing edge here, just for a little bit here with your fingertip, and it will actually bring it right back down into place. And it has. And so you want to look down it and then just see where it's at. Because it is EPO foam, it is very, very forgiving. And you can't tell I did anything there, but it is a lot straighter than it was. And it is not bad at all. It was just off a little bit. And I know that I've gotten calls, quite a few calls from people that do see this in their control surfaces, and then they think that it's completely defective. And that is not the case at all. Like right there, I just pressed it with my hands a little bit, and just with the warmth of my hand, the foam has actually retained back into its original position. So that's pretty much all you have to do there. And then if you hit it with a blow dryer from a distance, it'll actually soften it up quite a bit, and then it would retain that position actually even better there. So that, just a little bit of a tidbit there to help you all out there. So with that, all the control surfaces are installed now, and we're going to move on to the next area here, and we are not even going to follow this at all. This is, I'm not too excited about that instruction booklet. So we are going to go on to the next step here. Find yourself a little piece of foam, whatever you have lying around. I just happen to have this piece of foam around. If you actually have an aircraft cradle, that would be the best bet, like a U cradle, so you can actually go ahead and just put the P-47 right in the cradle there. I have one, and I just always forget to bring it, so go figure. I'm going to go ahead and widen up this camera angle here so we can go ahead and show you the portion we're moving on to next. I'm going to remove the canopy. And my part now, I always do this. This is my build process basically, is I am going to move to, it's going to tip over on you. So let's get a couple of Genesis powered batteries and put them into there. You can actually, if you wanted to, you can actually put the wing rod, the spar in there for now, and it'll just kind of tilt to one side. That works as well. Okay, let's go ahead and identify some screws here. Actually, there's only one screw bag. I'm going to show the camera. There's only one screw bag with some long self-tapping screws there. And I don't see any other screw bags, so I am going to take it that these are 6x40 millimeters, or 6x4, yeah. And this is going to be used for basically all your control surfaces, including the tail and the main wings. No, actually the main wings have main wing bolts, so this is the tail section only. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab. We're going to start with the horizontal stabilizer. So the horizontal stabilizer will go down right into the position where you got to kind of line it up. Let's see here, right there. Okay, a little bit of weight there. Okay. Actually, you want to do this first. Get your little Allen wrench that they've included right here. And there are the two top holes of the plastic washers. Go ahead and punch this Allen wrench through straight because there's a little bit of residual glue in there sometimes. I'm going to punch that through. There we go. So you can actually see through it. There we go. So we can see through the holes now. And we're going to line that up. Line this up right there. Okay, perfect. Okay, we're going to grab two screws. One for the top hole and then one for the lower hole. Move this up a little bit so you can see there. Okay, we're going to press it down and just grab a screwdriver, and we're going to test fit just to give it a little bit of a tight there, and you can see that it's biting, and we're going to move on to the other one. There we go, this one's biting. So now you want to kind of line it up, which it is lined up. Everything seats very, very well on these these FMS Blitz RC kits here. So we are going to just go ahead and tighten this down to where it barely feels pressure. There we go. We're going to move on to the back screw. Do the same thing. Do not ever tighten one screw first all the way down and then tighten the other one, because you always want to just get it to where it's a snug fit. And then you want to check it. Check the positioning. Move it if you have to. Line it up and check that, and that's pretty good. So now we are going to tighten this front one down. And when I tighten this, I tighten it down to where it is getting essentially tight, and you will see pressure wrinkle rings around the foam in that general area where this plastic washer is at. And that's how I know that it's tightened down pretty good. Okay, that is it. So that tail section, the horizontal stabilizer, is pretty much on there and ready to go there. So we are going to move on to the vertical stabilizer here. Okay, we're going to check this real quick. Okay, on the vertical stabilizer, we have the horn installed already, so you have to clear the elevator before you press down into this position here. Let me see if I can move this stuff so I can get you a better view here. All right, let's get that stuff out of the way. Okay, it's pretty good there. Okay, so these have these are your screw mount holes right here on the bottom of that. You can see the two holes, and these two will slide right into this hole here and then this hole here, and then down right in here you will see your tail steer servo. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So right there you will see that that is your tail steering servo for the steerable tail wheel. Okay, so right now, since we do have it open, I'm going to just make sure that that main center screw for that is tight. I always just, you know, when you have it open, you might as well make sure all the screws are tight. And that one's pretty good. Okay, so now, like I was saying, this is going to tip over. Okay, next time I'm bringing an aircraft cradle with me, fuselage cradle. This horn needs to clear the elevator before you press this down. So we are going to just slide this in this way. And once it gets down there we go. We're going to line up the hole. Actually, if you push up elevator, it'll actually just go right in. There we go. I actually like that better. Just push up elevator and let that horn clear, control surface horn. And then we're going to press down. And press down. And keep pressing. Even pressure with the palm of your hands, not with your fingertips, because it will dent the foam. So you want to use the palms of your hands. Even pressure all the way down. And that's it right there. Okay, that is in position there. So now we are going to flip the fuselage over, upside down. Okay, now it's going to be a real tight fit here in this small confined space. Okay, we're going to grab two more of these longer self-tapping Phillips head screws, and we are going to find the two holes on the bottom of the fuselage right there. This hole and this hole, and this is your steerable tail wheel. We're going to insert this straight in. You want to wiggle it a little bit, and then insert it, and then kind of twist it with your finger, and you can feel it biting. So you make sure that it's actually in the correct spot. Okay, both of those are pretty good. So now we are going to start one at a time and screw this down and make sure it bites. This one's biting. Okay, so we're not going to, just like the top side for the horizontal, we're not going to tighten this down all the way yet until we get actually the back one with pressure and tighten down as well. Okay. Okay, the back one is tightened, so let's go back to the front and give it a couple of extra. There we go. That's good. That is good. That is pretty much your complete tail section installed and ready to go. The push rods are not installed yet, as you can see right there. We are not going to install the push rods yet until we do our radio setup, which we will go into a little bit later. Let me tell you a little bit about this airplane, about what I like about this P-47. This is in the very, very carefree category as far as build is. There's a very basic 6-channel function. So you have your elevator, your rudder, throttle, your ailerons, and then your 5th channel will be your retractable gears, and then your 6th channel will be your flaps. And that is it. There's not a whole bunch of crazy wiring going on. It's just a very carefree and beautiful flying and very, very scale warbird here with very minimal build time. Let's go ahead and flip the fuselage one more time since we had her upside down here. Let's go ahead and just install the tail wheel here. I'm going to use the included little Allen wrench here. And on this collar here, there's a little 1.5 millimeter Allen screw. We're going to loosen that just a little bit. Okay. And on the tail wheel, you'll notice that on one side of the tail wheel here, I can't even get over there. There's a flat spot flattened out for you. That part is going to sit against the set screw area, so make sure you line that up. So we're going to insert that, and what I do is I'll tighten this until it's just about you could feel the metal, and then you can kind of move the tail wheel around, and then it'll actually seat into place where the flat spot is at there. Okay, that is about there. Okay, and I'm going to use my 1.5 there and cinch it down. That's it. Okay, that is good. And then there's a top set screw. So there's 2 set screws on there. Make sure both of them are tight. There, that's it. That's your steerable tail wheel is installed and ready to go. All right. so now we will move on to the bulk of the build, which is installing the main wings here. And, you know, I think that pretty much calls it a wrap here after that, and then some surface stuff that we have to do here. And let's see where we go from there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put the fuselage aside real quick here, because they want you to install the what I call the wing trailing edge fairings. I don't really know what these are called, but they didn't build these on there. They want you to go ahead and glue those on yourself, which is not a problem. So we are going to get one wing here, and this goes to the back side of it, okay? So this one, you want to identify which one goes on where. You can see it. It'll line up exactly with the shape of this angle right here, and it goes right there. So this is glued on to that right there. And then this whole thing is pressed into the fuselage. Okay, let's go ahead and get the included rubber cement. We're going to pop it right in the front with that little sharp thing. So there's a hole there. And we are going to just put a small amount here. There you go. On that fairing. And we are going to line it up right there and press down. That's it. The good thing about this glue is you have working time. So I always press it down since this is movable. Move it around a little bit so the glue gets all over the place. There we go. And it is in position. We're going to set that aside. Wipe the glue off your finger. And it's probably going to move, which it just did. It's starting to slide a little bit. Okay, so just keep it in position. It's going to move a little bit. Once this glue sets up, it'll be fine. It'll be great. This is the opposite side, so this is for the left wing. You can also do this too. You can actually apply the glue and actually let this piece sit out for a few minutes and then press it onto the surface, because as you can see, this one's starting to move again here. It's just because gravity is pulling that little piece down. However, with the install of the main wing, once you get it together, you can actually just press that piece right into the fuselage and it'll actually just stay there. So we're going to go ahead and do this piece here while we're at it. We might as well, because both sides are going to go ahead and slide a little bit. Okay, so that is pretty good. This is one of the reasons why I like using this glue, because you have some working time. And then when you get it into the fuselage, you can actually adjust the position a little bit. All right, let's see what they say about the main wings here. Okay, looks like there are no main wing. Let's see here. I thought I saw it earlier, but I don't know what I did with it. We'll get there when we get there. Let's see. Okay, so right now, let's go ahead and just install the main wing spar into the main wing here, and then we're going to get it into the main fuselage. Before we do that, you have your bunch of wires there. You can see that. Those are your aileron, flap, and your retract wires. So we're going to go ahead and pull those out. Be careful not to pull too hard. You will have 3 plugs come out, and this is where my needle nose comes in handy, because there's one plug a little bit farther in there that I would like. So we're going to go ahead and just yank it with that, and it comes out. And it's numbered for you: channel 1, channel 6, channel 5. Okay? So we get those out and straightened out a little bit and out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and insert the wing spar here into one wing first. And I don't push straight. I twist and push, twist and push. And once you feel that it's just about topped out there, that's pretty much as far as it needs to go. So we're going to leave it like that. We're going to move on to the left wing and remove the wires once again. Get my needle nose and get in there. All right. Here comes the wires. Okay, all these are numbered once again. Be careful and not lose any of those numbers off of the wires. But if you do, it's not a big deal, because you can actually just plug them into any channel and then move the sticks when you're at that point, and you can actually see what that surface is doing. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and move some of this stuff aside. And we are going to insert the wing into the fuselage, because the wing needs to sit up against the fuselage. And in the fuselage here, you will see right there, that's where the main wing spar goes, and right in front of that, there's an opening there. There's a plexiglass backing there to keep it nice and stiff and strong there. So this backing, this hole here is where you're going to insert those wires, okay? So we're not gonna worry about that real quick. Right now, we just need to line up the main wing spar with this guide hole, and we're gonna just insert and slide. That's how easy it is. And once we get a little bit closer, we are going to, you have, the wires are, you know, one's longer than the other and things like that, and we're just gonna have to insert this into this hole here, and it actually comes out from the inside there, which you got, you know, which the pair of needle nose comes in handy once again. So, right, let's go ahead and, this is actually a little bit more tedious than I thought, because there's actually an angle in there which you have to make the wires turn. So let's go ahead and get in there. Okay, I'm going to spare you guys and gals out there this and come back to this while I insert these wires. So during our build here, while we were installing the main wings with the main wing spar, I ran into an issue here that I didn't know about, and the manual didn't say anything about, so that is why we do these build reviews as well. I have a couple of tips that make this portion of it a whole lot easier. What's going on is this. These 3 wires from each wing go into this hole down here that I showed you a little bit earlier. That hole actually bends 90 degrees and then comes out through the fuselage, parallel to the fuselage. And it is just a pain to actually get each wire through that hole and then out this way. And I've discovered that it is a lot easier because all of these wires coming from the main wings here, the 3 from each side, they all plug into their own individual Y splitters with numbers on it. And I found it to be a lot easier to just insert the 2 female sides of the Y splitters in through this 90-degree hole that's down here where the wire actually comes out of. It's hard for me to show you, it's down here. When you guys get this airplane, and gals, you'll notice and see what I'm talking about there. And if you insert this into that hole and then you get down here and then you look through the hole right here that the actual wires are going to run through 90 degrees to, you'll see your plugs. And then all you do is you grab a pair of needle nose pliers and you just pinch it, and then you pull it right on through that hole, and then you attach it to the wing first. So right when you do that, it makes it a lot easier. So right now I have channel number 6 ran through here already, and I'm going to line up my colors accordingly and plug in channel number 6. So that is ready to go. And then your main lead wire is still down here where you can actually reach it and pull it right back. So you have 2 sides here, and we're just going to go ahead and do one side at a time, and we'll go from there. So right now, like, here's my channel number 1, and I'm going to just go ahead and slide it down through this channel pocket here for the wires, and I'm going to look through here, and I can see that the main wing wires are right there. And I just get it in position, and I grab my needle nose pliers that's hiding from me, and I pretty much just grab it, and then I pull it, and out it comes. And then you do that to the same thing on the other side. And then connect all your main wing wires first, and make sure your tag ends are still there, so when you pull on it, you can actually pull the wires straight through the fuselage. So let's go ahead and do that now. So now that we have the main wings inserted in and the Y connections ran for our retractable gear, our ailerons, and our flaps, and they're all sitting out in the visible position here, before you actually go ahead and plug these in, these are labeled only on one side, on the female side of these Y connectors. So it's probably a good idea, well, some of these you can still see, the channel number 5, that you actually get a Sharpie and then write down channel number 5 on the ends of these control plugs here. And probably make things a little bit easier when you're going to go ahead and plug it in here. Okay, so now we're pretty much at the point where we are going to do our radio install here. So let's go ahead and try to find the best position I can to show you what I'm going to do here. It's very visible here. There's a yellow sticker inside the fuselage that'll tell you right there. It says battery place right there. So the battery inserts into that hole, and all the way, it's going to be shoved all the way nose forward there. So let's go ahead, and we are going to go ahead and grab our receiver, and we are going to soft mount it for now. We are not going to actually plug into or mount this receiver anywhere for now. We are just going to plug into the corresponding channels here. And make sure when you guys are using your own transmitters out there, whether it's Futaba, JR, or Spectrum or anything like that, make sure when you're initially binding your transmitter to your system here, if it has a retractable gear or a flap system, make sure that they're set in the positions that you want the gear switch to be set at. Because if you don't, the next time you plug it in, it's going to remember where you bound it at, and the gears may deploy or it may fold up on you, and and it collapse on you on the ground there. So I have it bound pretty much at the down position and down flaps, with the flaps up here. And actually yes, with the flaps up, gears down, and we're just going to go ahead and plug in channels here. We're going to plug in channel number, we're going to go start from the beginning here. Let's go ahead and get channel number, let's see here, channel number 1 will be your ailerons. So we're going to go channel number 1 into the aileron port, and or channel number 1, basically, 1 into 1, or where it says aileron. Okay, so we have 1 in, and then channel number 2 will be your elevator. So let's go ahead and locate channel number 2. Here we go. This is channel number 2. It's kind of bound up in there. We're going to go ahead and untangle it real quick. Channel number 2 goes into your elevator port. I'm going to find channel number 3 is your throttle. There it is. Okay, channel number 3 goes into your throttle, or your channel number 3. Channel number 4 goes into your rudder, or channel number 4 on your receiver. And channel number 5 will be your retractable gears. So you're on your AR stuff, AR 6000 or 6200 or something like that, or 7000 or 7010. They will say gear on it, but most receivers will just have 1 through 5. So 5 plugs into 5 there. The last one we're looking for is the flap, which is channel number 6. It's right here. Find out what I did with the plug. There we go. And this goes into channel number 6, plugs into channel number 6, or aux 1 on the Spectrum receivers here. Okay, so that is pretty much the whole hookup as far as the plugs are concerned. You want to make sure, double over, make sure all these plugs are tight. Okay, so that's something that is something that you always want to do. We're going to go ahead and tuck the receiver aside for now, and we are going to get the battery in there and go ahead and just power her on here and check for all the functions here. Transmitter's off, receiver's off, battery's unplugged. Remember, with these big airplanes, all these airplanes, they will not have any kind of on and off switch. It's battery in, plugged in, it's on, unplugged, it's off. And I forgot to mention, when I pressed these wings in, the instructions didn't have any say in actually gluing these wings in there. It is an extremely tight fit when you press fit these two sides in, and you can actually glue these fairings that I had glued onto the main wing. You glue them into here first, and then press them in as if you choose. You could put a little bit of rubber cement on the wing root and press it in if you choose, but I wouldn't suggest it just because there's a lot of pressure in there. The wing's not going to fly off the way it is, and the instructions didn't say to glue it. I just pressed it in the way they are. They're pretty tight, and in case you have to access servos or anything like that, you can still remove the main wings. There are no wing bolts that I can see that actually goes in here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and insert the battery into that compartment there. That compartment is kind of skinny, and this battery configuration is a little bit fatter, but because it's EPO foam, it will still just go ahead and insert all the way in. Let me go ahead and insert the battery all the way in, then I'll show you. That's pretty much all the way in there. So the battery's tucked away into the nose piece there. And for everybody that's wondering why we built this thing so far and there's no propeller on it, I have a very logical explanation why I do not do the propeller first. The instructions say to do it, but I never do it. When you're powering something up of this nature here, I would rather not have a big spinning propeller in the way of potentially spinning and then cutting your finger or hitting something or having the plane take off forward on you. So the propeller is something I do always at the far end of the build, and then also if there's any kind of guns or cannons and everything that we need to glue on, we do that at the end. And then we do the control surface clevises and the measuring and the control surface throws and everything at the end. So that is something that we do towards the conclusion of the build. So for now, let's go ahead and power on the transmitter. Got the gear down there, so I'm going to go ahead and flip the gear up because it is in the up position. We don't know how this is going to react just yet, so let's go ahead and plug it in. I always grab it just in case it deploys. Get ready to lift it up, and it did not deploy, so we're good. That means that the gear's in the correct position. So I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to drop the gears. There we go. So that's the down, and that's up. Okay, the gears are down, so now we have P-47 on landing gear. And we're going to go ahead and check the control surfaces. So it looks like the elevator servo is going in reverse, so we are going to go ahead and reverse it on the transmitter. If you're using an analog control, bottom row has servo reversing. Find your elevator and go ahead and reverse it. Okay, that is good. Okay, rudder is going in reverse as well, so we are going to reverse the rudder. And then aileron, we can't really see because it's underneath, but we'll just sneak a peek here. Ailerons are in reverse as well. Okay, we'll check our flaps. Okay, our flaps are good because it depends on which direction you want your switch in. And just a side note here, for everybody that are using Futaba radio systems, whether they are fast, Futaba fast, or any kind of Futaba radio system, as long as your transmitter is a Futaba, you will need to reverse your throttle channel no matter what. On any airplane basically that you're going to be getting, you need to reverse your throttle channel first and foremost. Otherwise it will go into programming mode. And with just about all the 1400 millimeter FMS airplanes that we have, I had talked about this earlier about the ESC programming, and there's not really an ESC programming that we have to do. What we have to do is what's called a first time setting the throttle calibration. And what that basically does is the motor and the ESC will sense where your throttle stick is at low position and then at high position. So that's what we're going to do now. So this part is very important that you follow exactly what I'm doing, and it'll get armed and you'll be ready to go. So right now, as you can hear, usually when you plug it in, you have an initializing tone. We didn't hear anything. It's because it does not recognize the radio system and the throttle endpoints yet. So right now we are going to unplug the airplane. We're going to shut the transmitter off. Okay? We are going to take our transmitter here. We're going to put the throttle stick into the full up high position. Okay? That's something we never ever do except in this situation here. And we have no propeller on it, so it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to hurt anybody there. So we have the throttle here in the full up position, and we are going to plug this in, and you're going to listen for the first 2 rapid tones. It's going to beep 2 times. As soon as it beeps 2 times, you want to lower your throttle stick into the lowest position, and it will beep 2 more times. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll follow there. Okay, listen. Oh, I'm sorry. All that talking, I forgot to turn on my transmitter. Go figure. So throttle stick, full up, transmitter on. Now we plug in the airplane. Listen for the beep. Okay, that's it. Okay, too long. I think I waited too long. Let's do it again. The first 2 beeps, you need to lower your stick. So I'm not going to talk here. Okay. Okay, let's do it one more time. I'm going to shut it off here. Got to start that process over. Okay, lower the stick here. 2 more. That's it. It's programmed. Now we are going to unplug the airplane, the battery, shut the transmitter off, leave the throttle stick in the lowest position. We're going to go ahead and turn on the transmitter and plug this back in, and it should initialize with the tones now. That's it. That is music to our ears. That means that the ESC and the motor has been programmed correctly, and now we have throttle. That's pretty much it. So now we are going to go ahead and, while we have everything on here, we're going to set the radio aside, and let's go ahead and connect the control clevises to the control surfaces here. Let's go ahead and flip the big old P-47 once more. Get that out of the way here. Okay. We are going to do the main wings first, and then we'll move on to the tail section here. The main wings are a little closer to the camera here, as we can see what we're doing here. Okay. So earlier we had talked about the push rods. These two long ones are going to be for your flaps. So we're going to use one on each side. And with the flaps, we're going to insert to the farthest. Actually, we're going to use the second to the top hole on the servo horn on this line here. This is the flap. This is the flap servo. So we're going to push the Z-bend side into the servo, and then we are going to go over here and line up the clevis with the flap. And right now, all you have to look for is make sure that the flap here is level with this main portion of this wing right here. And if it's not, then we're going to adjust the clevis. So just take a good look here. I'm going to go with the farthest top hole, and that's pretty close. There's a little bit of up in it, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to screw this clevis in one turn, and I'm going to try it again, and that is right on the money there. So right there is right on the money. We're not going to push any clevises in yet because we have to check it so that we have flap there, and that's ready to go. And we're going to go to our other bag with the shorter push rods, which these are your aileron push rods. They're a little bit shorter. So with the ailerons, let's take a look here. We want to go again to the second from the top hole because it's milled out a little bit wider to fit these push rods. So there we go. That's a perfect fit there. If you choose to use the top hole, you can as well. That's kind of personal preference there. But let's go ahead and go to the second from the top hole on the aileron here for a little bit more movement, just to go to the center hole. And what you're looking for here is your ailerons, or your aileron in level with the, level with the flap. Right now you can see there's a little bit of down aileron there, so we are going to loosen this clevis. 1, 1.5, 2. So that's 2 full turns. We're going to check it in the middle hole. That's too much. It's too high now. So we're going to go in 1 turn. Tighten it 1 turn, and that should be just about good. Yep, that's perfect right there. So your ailerons are in the center hole there, and that's pretty good there. We're just going to pinch that down for now. Check the ailerons. Okay, we have ailerons, and that is good. So we are going to do that with the rest of the control surfaces, and we'll meet you back over here. All right, so I've gone to the other side of the table here where I'm standing right in front of one of our big old light boxes, and it is really hot. I wanted to show you really quick here. Although we have proper rudder movement, you can see that the tail wheel is not centered. So we want to look down this line. You can see that the tail wheel is moving to the right a little bit here. So we want to sub-trim this. Either sub-trim it through here or sub-trim it through your radio or at the horn there. But since we're using the 9503, we're going to sub-trim this until it's straight here. Okay, so that is pretty straight. We can do a ground test later on. So that is pretty straight there. So now we are going to go to the control horn here and connect the control clevis here. We're going to push that little rubber retainer back. Okay. Pushing on some servo here, giving it tension there, making it buzz. Okay, we were going to go with the middle hole once more, and that is a little bit off. We're going to go half a turn out. Actually, we'll go 1 turn out and take a look here. I want to make sure my big head's not in the way here on the frame there. That is perfect. We're going to go ahead and call that good, pinch that down, and now we have your rudder with steering. Okay, now you're going to notice that these push rods right here, they are way too long for the control surface, and the reason why is right here. I'm going to go ahead and flip it one more time here. Where's my 1.5? There it is. Go ahead and bring this up close here. The servo for the elevator is actually a larger servo. This is the FMS 17G size servo. For more torque and power because it's powering the elevator, and there's 2 push rods. So right now, this is called an easy connector, and these 2 rods go straight into the easy connector. What we're going to do is loosen the 1.5 millimeter. It's easier when you have your other hand on there and you grab it, but we loosen it, and now the rods can move back and forth for fine-tune and fine adjustments right here. So now we can just go ahead. This is my favorite part. It's easy because you don't have to do too much control clevis adjusting by moving the clevises. Right now, we just move the retainers out of the way. Okay, and then we are going to just push the push rod until it pretty much lines up. Oh, actually, you can't even see it in that picture there. Let me go ahead and move it. Okay, there we go. So it's just some tension on the elevator the aileron because of the the wing being on the table here. So right now we're going to pick the farthest outside hole, top hole. And we're going to just go ahead and press this down. You can actually press this home and then push the retainer all the way up. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to adjust it from the front, not from the tail side here. The clevises don't need to actually move. You just want to make sure there's enough treads on there screwed into the clevis itself. So now that that is there, we will flip the P-47 once more. Okay. And now what we do is we pretty much just go over here and you look at that and make sure it's level. But actually what I do is I look at it from this side. I look at it from this angle here and make sure that it is nice and flat and level, okay? So we'll set her down and I'll look at it like this. And that's pretty good there. And then I'll match up the other side. Of course, this is better done when you're at the field or like at a bigger area on a flat table, you know, your dining room table or something like that. So you can walk around the table and check both sides and make sure it's level and even. So that's pretty good there. If we do need to fine tune it later on, we can do it through the control clevis as well. So now we're going to go ahead and tighten that 1.5 millimeter screw down. That's pretty much it. So now we will have up elevator, down elevator, up, down, and then we have left and right. And that's pretty level there. It's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the other side here. Man, I love these builds. They're so fun. Okay, so that is pretty much that. And then we have your ailerons here, which you can visibly see pretty clear. We have left here, left aileron, right aileron. You notice the left aileron faces up, right aileron faces down. When I go right, the right aileron faces up, left aileron goes down. So aileron, elevator, rudder, and then we have flaps. Okay? Perfect. Now what we're going to do before we even do the propeller is we are going to do all the aesthetic stuff. There are some cannons and there is an antenna. And we'll do the antenna first since we're so close here. There's included is this little antenna. Okay, this is directional, so it goes right in this slot right here, right on top of the fuselage. So you want to make sure that you test fit it. And one way it sticks up a little bit too much, the other way it'll fit perfect. So that's the way it fits, and it fits perfect that way. So we're going to put a little bit of this rubber cement on there, not too much, because we don't want this oozing out everywhere, getting all over the place. And we're just going to slide that down into place. And that is it. And we still got a little bit of glue. And there you go. And just get your towel there and just wipe your fingers off. Okay, we're going to close this here and move on to, let's see, I think the only other thing left are the cannons. Let's go ahead and take the bag here and we'll take the cannons out and dump it all over the table and try to identify how many different lanes there are. Lengths. There's a longest, two second to the longest, and then two more second to that, and then two more. So there's 4 sets. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the manual here and see where they tell us to put these. Let's see here. Okay, the longest will go towards the fuselage. So these will go basically, let's see, which one can you see better? That one. These will go towards the fuselage. So all the longest ones will go into this hole here. And then it goes as follows, okay? And pretty much same thing goes here. I lost my glue, there it is. Don't need a whole lot of it. I'm just going to put a little bit, I'm just going to dab it a little bit in a circle motion here, not too much. Actually, the glue has some air bubbles in it, there we go. Just at the root area, so you don't make a mess, okay? And we're going to go ahead and do number 1. Push it all the way back, okay? And then we'll go ahead and do number 2. Actually, I think I'm just going to put it on the ends there. There we go. You don't need it very much at all. It's not going anywhere, especially when the airplane is moving forward and this has air pushing against it. Okay, that's number 2. I'll get the next shortest one. That's pretty funny. Looking at that on the table there. Okay, get that glue off of there. And then the shortest one. Okay, let's go ahead and get a little bit of glue on there, and it's pretty good there. We'll go to the shortest one. And we're going to call that done deal there. And when you look at this on the table here, like that. It looks like that AT&T commercial. You got full bars, except it's backwards. It goes the other way, right? Okay, let's go ahead and get the guns or cannons here glued onto the next wing side, and we'll meet you back here. Now that we have the guns or the cannons here glued into the main wing, we are going to flip her one more time, hopefully for the last time for now, and put her back on her upside down. Watch the antenna that you had just glued on there, and we are going to basically glue on the center drop tank. The center drop tank is not magnetized or magnetic, so we're just going to put a little bit of glue on here, just like that. Just dab it right in the center here. Not a whole lot is needed. And we are going to just press the center one down into place. It actually has a little bit tighter of a fit, so you can actually flip it right after you glue it on there, because it's actually, the foam is actually pretty snug. Okay, then now let's go ahead and do the two bombs here on the outskirts of the main wing. Okay, that's one, and then that's two. These here are on magnets. So let's go ahead and see if there's directional. They are not. So these are on magnets. So these are going to just go and snap right down here into position. Let's see here, right there. And the foam is a little snug there, so just press a little bit. There you go. So that one's in place, and that one is in place. So these are magnets. So they're really, really strong rare earth magnets, and it's pretty much holding it in place. So that way you could take it off at any time if you choose to not use it. So let's go ahead and show you the retractable gear while we have her on her top side here. Check it out. Here we go. These are servoless electric retracts. There we go. That was perfectly normal. Sometimes with the electric retracts, I haven't played with my endpoints in my radio yet, so you might want to go to travel adjust, because right now my stock travel adjust in my 9303 is set at 100/100. Chances are, on your upside or the downside, you want to lower that number, the numerical value, to probably 30 or so less. So I haven't done that yet, so it's normal for it to do that. And then when it does that, all you have to do is cycle it a couple of times, and it's right back in there, and it's fine. Look at that. These are servoless electric retracts. So if you block them and they get stuck, they just get stuck. When you let go, they keep going. So that's what the good thing about that is. There's no more stripped gears or anything like that. Right now, since we have the gears on the inside and they're folded in, we can go ahead and check these screws. I always do a once over on the screws here. And all the screws, just basically do a once over on it. Make sure all the screws are tight. And on any airplane, you have general maintenance as well. When you come down from your 5th flight of every flight of this flying, of this aircraft, you want to make sure that everything is still tightened down and is still, all the screws and bolts and stuff like that are still tight. So that is always a good thing to do. I always maintenance your airplanes. That is something that is, you can't get away from it. It's good for the airplane, and it's good that you do it, and eliminates any cause of losing a screw or something like that. So let's go ahead and put the gears back up here, and let's grab my little Allen key here and make sure that the wheel collar is tight. Actually, let's go ahead and use my lost 1.5 millimeter here, which I really don't have anymore. So okay, let's go ahead and use the Allen key. We're going to go to the wheel collars, make sure the wheel collars are tight. Okay, that one's tight. And that one's tight, so we don't lose the wheels here. Perfect. Okay, going to the top side once more. All right, look at that, beautiful. Okay, so now we are at the top, and we are to our last concluding steps for this build process. Before we go there, I'm tired, and I wanted to show you real quick here. I've been losing my voice this whole week here, so bear with me. Look at that scale canopy there. Pilot, and then you can see the cockpit with the instrument panel and everything. Just a beautiful, beautiful model by FMS Blitz here. All right, so let's go ahead and put this out of the way, and I'm going to unplug the radio for now. So we're going to unplug the transmitter, the airplane first, turn off the radio, and we are going to do the propeller build here for this beautiful scale propeller here. Let's go ahead and open this bag with the prop hub, screws, and the spinner here. Okay. Here's the spinner. All right, let's get that out of the way here. I love the way FMS packages everything. They're all in their own individual packs, which is awesome. You know these, well, actually I'm throwing them all over the floor here. I pick them up in a little while. These are great little Ziploc baggies to keep around. You know, you can use them at a later time if you need to put some screws in there and stuff. So they always come in handy here. And FMS always gives you some free bonuses. There's a push rod clevis. You have a little baggie of extra screws and stuff, so make sure you want to keep those around. Okay. Here we have the main blades. Okay, you have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the 5th blade right there is labeled on it. It says free goods. So this is a free main blade. It's a spare blade. So you want to make sure you keep that around. Maybe write, you know, I'll write on there 1400 P-47, because sometimes you get multiple airplanes, you don't remember which blade goes where. So that's always a good thing to do. You keep track of it. So let's go. Bam. Bam. So these are out. All the blades are ready to go. We are going to grab this bag here, which has the screw and the lock nut for the prop hub and the prop blades. And I believe they give you some extra screws there as well, so you want to keep those around. Okay, we're going to grab our Phillips screwdriver. And the way you identify which one's the bottom, which one's the top of these prop backings here, the one with the hex nuts in the back printed in there, the slots printed in there, that is the bottom side. And the ones that are all round are the top side. And then this one right here has the hex shape built into the middle portion. And that goes right into the prop hub right here, the prop shaft, prop adapter. So let's go ahead and put this on the floor, on the table. And I found this is the easiest way to do it because you got to press down on it. And we're going to put one blade at a time. And if you let go, it falls. Okay, so that's why I'm saying this is a little bit difficult if you do it that way. So I just kind of set it on the table, generally get it right about where it's supposed to be. I won't go next one. I'll go right across from that, set that down. Okay, we're going to go over here. And then we'll go right here. Those are generally in place here. There's a couple of guide notches on here that will press it into place when you put the top of this prop adapter hub there. Now we're going to push on it, pick it up, and then wiggle each one and press in the center portion at the same time. Wiggle, wiggle, press. Wiggle, wiggle, press. I know it sounds funny, right? Wiggle, wiggle, press. But it works, and that is pretty much it. These seams here will not close all the way, especially right now. They need to be screwed down first. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it. I'm going to insert one lock nut with the lock washer, the nylon locking nuts into one hole. And we'll start with one screw and into one propeller. And we will just go ahead and tighten this down. Okay, it's gripping. Don't tighten it too much because we don't want it to over tighten one at a time here. We want to try to give even pressure when you're actually tightening these down right here. We go diagonally right across from that with one more lock nut, and we are going to go ahead and screw that down. That's biting, that's good. Go and pick any one now because we're going to the next one, the third one. Press that in there, lined up your screwdriver, and we'll screw that one down. It's biting, that's good. And we're going to go to the last one. And we will put the lock nut, nylon lock nut in there. And last screw in there. And screw that down. And now, before I tighten everything down, I make sure that these are in the right positions. They're not going to wiggle out. It's pretty good. So now I keep it on a flat surface. And go ahead and put some pressure on it. Not too much. You'll kind of feel it. And then you want to tighten directly across. Don't go to the next one. Tighten directly across from that. Okay, go to this one. It's pretty good. That is pretty good. And now I do a once over. Because once all of them cinch down, they seem to have a little bit more room to move again. Okay, so that is pretty much tight. That is beautiful. And the seams have closed up. And that is your beautiful scale 4-bladed propeller. That is a thing of beauty, I tell you. So now let's go ahead and install it onto the nose of this P-47 here. Back go. There's a hex shape in the front of this motor shaft. So all you have to do is pretty much slide this on there. You can actually put a microfiber or a towel on there and wipe it off because it's nice and shiny chrome there, if you wanted to. Okay, that is right on there, and bingo, that is ready to go. So we actually have 2 screws and 2 lock nuts left, 2 nylon lock nuts as spares. So you want to put that aside into a little baggie later on because you will need to use that at one time or another. At this point here, there is no propeller nut here at all. The propeller nut is built into the inside of this beautiful spinner, and it's plastic. And I hear a lot, well, you know, how will you tighten that down so it doesn't spin the spinner off? It actually won't. Just for a little bit of, you know, if it makes you feel any better, you can run to your local hardware store or your local hobby shop and pick up a little tube, a little bottle of blue Loctite, okay? So if you really wanted to, a little touch of blue Loctite on the threads here, just a tiny bit is fine. I don't use it, but this is just for reassurance for people that, you know, are afraid this is going to fly off on you. It's not, and the reason why I tell you it's not is going to be this. You're going to go ahead and take your prop spinner with the nut already pre-installed there. It is a metal nut inside, and you're going to go ahead and screw this down. Okay. Once you get there, make sure your hands are clean. Grab it, grab the propeller, or grab 2 propellers, and go ahead and tighten it down. And the amount of force that's in your hand that you're able to tighten this down is incredible. So you're like, that's plenty. You don't need to go any more tighten than that. And the reason why is this propeller is going to be spinning counterclockwise. And when it spins counterclockwise, it's actually spinning against the threads and the direction that this prop bolt is screwed on there. So as it's spinning, no matter what it's doing, this bolt is actually going the opposite direction. So it's actually going to keep it tight. So if it was spinning in the opposite direction, then that screw would come loose, but it's not. It's spinning against it, so it's not going to come loose. But a little bit of Loctite is always, you know, reassurance. So with that, pretty much, this beautiful P-47 is just about done. We just have to hardwire. We have to mount the receiver here, and we're pretty much good there. We're going to go ahead and pan the camera back and wrap this up with a little bit of a talk about this beautiful FMS Blitz RC Works P-47. All right, pilots. Thank you for enduring with me through this entire build of this 1400mm FMS Blitz RC Works P-47 Thunderbolt. Again, we carry this P-47 on our website exclusively here in 2 different colors here. And this build has been a full hands-on experience. I'm a little under the weather, and the lights in here are extremely hot, and I'm glad to get this build done. I'm excited to get to the field to get this flying video shot for you. I really love flying these warbirds in the low and fast warbird fashion, and I'm looking forward to bringing you all that video. Thank you all always for checking out these build reviews. I hope this review and this hands-on review has been helpful, and like I said, full part support is on our website always, and technical support, if you guys need any help, you can get a hold of me or the customer support here as well. At Banana Hobby, we always strive to bring you the best RC, and we appreciate your business. And this P-47 is another classic going in my hangar of warbird aircrafts and just general aircraft. It is beautiful. She is ready. She's gorgeous, and we are going to give you a little rundown right now. We have ailerons are good, elevators, we have rudder, and we have our flaps, and everything is set there. And just to give you a little bit of technical info, I'm running about 15 degrees of aileron, 15 to 20 degrees of aileron. Deflection is plenty. I've got about 15 degrees of elevator, which is plenty. You might want to run some expo, and about 15 degrees all around of rudder as well. I think the ailerons, you can go a little bit more to 20, maybe 25 degrees if you choose to, but depends on how you like to fly, your flying style and roll rate and things like that. And she's pretty much ready to go. We're going to hang on to the tail section and give it a little bit of a throttle test here. We just blew bags all off the workbench. Once again, this is all about the fun portion of the build process. To be able to see something like this come together and have everything work, and you know, your next step is to get everything cleaned up and get your family and your friends, go out to the flying field and enjoy a day outdoors in the fresh air and fly model airplanes. Once again, my name is Pete. We don't play with toys. I don't play with toys. You don't play with toys. These are actual airplanes. So I've heard one time that these are called Sky Dominators, so we will go with that. We do not play with toys. These are not RC toys. These are RC airplanes, and these are Sky Dominators. My name is Pete. Thank you always, once again. Please stay tuned for the flying video. Check out all the new videos coming soon to Banana Hobby, and make sure you subscribe to YouTube, where we have all these new videos and new fun stuff coming up, interacting stuff with you all always. Like us on Facebook, become a fan on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, where I interact with you all the time. And once again, thank you all for checking out this build review. Stay tuned for the next build review, and we will see you at the field.